My name is Jordan, also known as Krebs, and today I'll be teaching you how to create these trance chords. I'll play you a demo of how they sound right now. There's side chains, so let me take that off for a second. So that's what we're going to be creating today. So this is actually not very complex. We actually just need to do the programming of the Maelstrom, the Thor, and I think that's it. Yeah, let me make sure. Yeah, okay. So let's get started. I'm going to go to my Reason, create new. I'm going to drag up my mixer and drag down my sequencer. Adjust it a little bit more. There we go. So what I'm going to do right off the bat is dim this -20 decibels. So that way when we start messing around, we don't blow our speakers or monitors, depending on which one you use. Anyways, or even headphones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click. Now, if you don't have any, if you don't have a right mouse wheel, what you can do is you can hold down Control and click. It'll give you the same menu. So from this menu, I'm going to go to my utilities and create a combinator. Inside this combinator, by the red box, I'm just going to click in here. It'll auto route for us, so we don't need to connect any cables. That's pretty good. What we want to do right off the bat is go to Utilities and create a Line 6.2 mixer. Now I'm just going to leave this as mixer. What I'm going to do beforehand is after this mixer, I'm going to go to my Studio Effects and I'm going to create a M-class equalizer. Then right click on the equalizer and create a Line 6 bass amp. A Scream 4 distortion after this, found in Creative Effects by right-clicking on the amp and going to Creative Effects and choosing Scream 4 distortion. After the Scream 4 distortion, we're going to right-click on it again and choose M-Class Maximizer. Now for our equalizer, what I'm going to do is instead of, I'm going to flip it over by hitting Tab. I'm going to take it out from Return and I'm going to remove my chords from the Line 6 mixer. I'm actually going to plug this into my M-Class equalizer and take the out and plug it into From Devices from the From Devices from the combinator. That little slot right there. Okay, now that we have everything in place, I'm going to turn on Low Cut, Parameter 1, Parameter 2, High Shelf. And for parameter 1, we're going to take this about 169, gain down all the way, Q all the way up. Parameter 2, we're going to take this to 2.130 kilohertz, gain down, Q all the way up. High shelf, take that down to 3000 kilohertz, put the gain down in about -4, and put the Q all the way up so it creates a flat line. After this, just go to my compressor, the Line 6. It's not mine, but it's Line 6 bass amp, and just turn on the threshold to compress the signal. We're going to bypass the Scream 4 for now, and for maximizer, take off limiter, put release to auto, turn on soft clip, and change the amount to 127. For now, I'm just going to minimize all of this. Okay, so on my mixer, or actually, in fact, what I'm going to do is after the maximizer, I'm going to go to my instruments and create a Maelstrom. Now what the Maelstrom actually allows us to do is to create kind of a, I don't know, a very trance type signal. So what I'm going to do is hit tab, and as you can see, it already routed to my line 6 mixer. That's fine and all, but actually we want our oscillator output A to be on our left channel. It'll still come out stereo, don't worry. And our oscillator B to go into the next channel, channel 2. Okay, now I can take off my mods. Mod A, mod B. For our first oscillator, let me make sure. Okay, yeah, for our first oscillator, we want to choose a sawtooth 16. I'm going to change my index to about... The indexes are very, very picky on where you put them. So for our first index, we want to set this to 70. For our second index, we want to choose it to be 36, found on our second oscillator, oscillator B. For our first oscillator, we want the semi to be about 4, and the cent to be all the way to that. Let me zoom in to that second. Let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, about in between there, so it creates a solid straight line, so about 33 for the cent. Okay, and I'm going to turn up the decay and release, decay and sustain all the way, decay and sustain for the second oscillator. For the second oscillator, this is going to become a little bit tricky. We're going to, by the way, we tuned our synth for our first oscillator, so we don't really need to mess with it. For our second oscillator, we want to choose pink noise. That can be found in effects. We're going to take this down an octave, take the motion all the way down so it doesn't move, and turn up the cent about the straight line again, so 36 is the straight line, and turn up the semi to 4. Let me play a few notes. So we're in the right ballpark. After this, I'm going to right-click on my Maelstrom, and go to Instruments and create Thor. Now, the reason why I don't have any maximizer or equalizer or any scream or anything after this is because when the line outs go from our Maelstrom into the mixer, it's already being compressed through the equalizer and it goes into the combinator, so that way it's already mastered, all ready to go. So we don't need to mess with any of our EQs or anything, unless the signals cross, and in this case it shouldn't cross. So for our Thor sequencer, I'm actually going to open this up, and I'm going to take off the first filter, and for our first filter, we want this to, for our first oscillator, we want this to be a multi-oscillator. We want our mount to be the same right where it is. We want the semi to be 4, and we want the tune to be 36. And now if we play some chords, and just solo out this Thor channel, also forgot to take it down an octave. I'm sorry about that. That sounds very rich, very thin. To beef this up, all you need to do is hit the chorus. You don't need to mess with any of the parameters of the chorus. It just comes in static, just like that. So after this, for my Thor devices, I'm actually going to EQ this a bit. So I'm going to right-click on it, go to Studio Effects, and create an equalizer. After this, I'm going to right-click on my equalizer and go to Studio Effects, RV7000. Take the dry wet to 22, and then decay to 40. After this, we want to choose an M-class maximizer. Take off limiter, put the release to auto, and change the amount to 127. Turn on soft clip. Okay. So for our equalizer for Thor. Let me just make sure it's patched. It is. I'm going to turn on low cut, low shelf, and parameter 1. All we need to do for our low cut and our low shelf is to take this all the way down to 55 hertz, the gain all the way down, and the Q up to 2. Now, for this peak around, I don't know, 200 to 312 hertz, we want to dim that down. So I'm actually going to take my frequency down to 275, gain down, Q all the way up, so it creates this peak. And that's all we really need to do for our chords. Now, as you can tell from our line mixer, let me take off -20 now that we have it mastered. I'm actually going to take down the second channel to 74 and the first channel down to about 80. The reason why I'm doing this is because the two separate outs from oscillator A and oscillator B can kind of overlap and create this muddy sound that doesn't go really well. But there you guys have it. You have Trance Chords version 6. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another crazy tutorial.